A story about an unexpected discovery can resonate with anyone. Imagine the moment when a child's innocent question turns an adult's world upside down. Why do you smell so strange? This question, innocently asked by her granddaughter, hit 71-year-old Carol Simmons like a punch to the gut. A woman who had always prided herself on her cleanliness and attention to detail was suddenly confronted with a reality she couldn't control. Daily showers, fresh clothes, and an immaculate home no longer mattered. Her beloved granddaughter avoided her hugs, wrinkling her nose at every attempt to get close. That night, Carol let the tears flow, hiding under the covers. Dr. Henry Thompson, a 77-year-old physician with half a century of experience working with the elderly, shares an important observation. In his practice, spanning over 10,000 patients, he has discovered a phenomenon that many prefer to ignore. Have you ever noticed an empty seat next to you on public transportation? Have you felt the detachment of grandchildren or seen your daughter-in-law open a window during your visit? It may not just be a coincidence. There is something that people commonly refer to as old person smell, and according to Dr. Thompson, it is a very real phenomenon. After conducting thousands of examinations, Dr. Thompson came to a startling conclusion. 99% of people over the age of 60 are unaware of the change in their body odor. However, those around them notice it, but prefer to remain silent to avoid causing offense. This means that most elderly people live with this problem, unaware of its existence. But what causes this old person smell, and can it be combated? The answers to these questions can change many lives, so it's worth watching to the end. The story of Franklin Moore, a 73-year-old man known for his obsessive cleanliness, comes to mind. A daily shower was a mandatory ritual for him, and his home shone with sterile cleanliness, resembling a room in a fancy hotel. However, one incident turned his life upside down. One day, his son brought a friend home, and Franklin inadvertently overheard the boy's comment, "It smells kind of grandpa-ish in here." From that fateful day, Franklin, like a recluse, preferred not to leave his bedroom during his grandchildren's visits. Fear gripped his soul. He was afraid of feeling rejected, an outcast, not understanding the reason for such treatment. And if, dear viewer, while reading these lines, you feel discomfort and suspect that a similar fate may befall you, don't panic. The reason is not your uncleanliness or any reprehensible actions. The truth is that the human body undergoes changes over time, and these metamorphoses also affect the olfactory sphere. However, this should not be seen as an inevitable curse that you will have to live with for the rest of your days. By watching this video to the end, you will learn about a surprisingly simple method requiring only 3 minutes a day that can reduce old person smell by as much as 90%. This revolutionary approach has already helped more than 1,000 patients regain lost self-confidence and rediscover the joy of interacting with grandchildren without experiencing fear or embarrassment. Let's understand the true causes of the specific age-related odor and how to effectively combat it. Recently, during an online consultation, the author spoke with 79-year-old Eleanor Brooks, who lives in Arizona. The woman shared her problem. Despite daily use of her favorite perfume, gifted by her grandchildren, relatives began to avoid her room, finding various excuses to leave. When asked about ventilating the room, Eleanor replied that she often had to keep the windows open because of the feeling of heavy air. It became clear that the woman, like many elderly people, was trying to mask the unpleasant odor with fragrances. The author gently but honestly noted that perfume in this case is not a solution, but rather an aggravation of the problem. There was a pause, and Eleanor quietly asked about the nature of this smell, as she regularly takes baths, washes clothes, and keeps the house tidy. This is the essence of the problem. Even when cleanliness is maintained, the body begins to emit a specific odor with age, which is not usually discussed and which few people know how to manage. The first instinctive solution is to use perfumes, deodorants, or air fresheners, which only mask one smell with another, like spraying fragrance in an untidy room. As a result, loved ones feel discomfort but prefer to remain silent, opening windows or keeping their distance. Elderly people, in turn, remain unaware, feeling offended and confused by such behavior. To break out of the vicious cycle of unpleasant odor, it is necessary to understand its origins. It is important to understand why it appears, even when. Hygiene procedures and a neat lifestyle are observed, contrary to the opinion of others. After speaking with Mrs. Eleanor, it became clear that a more detailed explanation was needed. The fact is that not everyone understands the causes of body odor, despite careful hygiene. It is a common belief that the so-called old person smell is due to poor hygiene or is an inevitable part of aging. However, there are specific biological processes behind this phenomenon confirmed by scientific research. Understanding these processes allows us to take concrete steps to improve the situation. Let's start with sweating. Paradoxically, a person sweats more intensely in their youth, releasing an average of about 1 liter of sweat per day. After the age of 60, this figure decreases by more than half. The question arises, if sweating decreases, shouldn't the odor become less pronounced? In fact, sweat plays an important role in removing toxins from the body. It transports bacteria, excess, sebum, and waste products to the surface of the skin. With decreased sweating, these substances remain on the skin, creating a favorable environment for the growth of odor-causing bacteria. Medical practice shows that decreased sweating with age can lead to increased odor. One patient, 74-year-old Mr. Donald Ray, noted at the appointment, "When I was young, I sweated like a horse. It was annoying. But now I hardly sweat at all, and that's when the problem started." He was told that due to decreased sweating, the odor remains on the skin, soaking into clothing, bedding, and pillows. The second difficulty lies in sebum, the natural oil produced by the skin. In youth, its chemical composition is different, but from about the age of 50, a compound called 2-nonenal appears in it, which is an oxidized fatty acid. It is absent in young people, but after the age of 60, the level of this substance begins to rise, reaching a peak by the age of 70. This compound is one of the main factors in the odor that is often associated with aging. The problem is not a lack of hygiene, but natural changes in the skin over time. Another source of odor, which often goes unnoticed, is the oral cavity. After the age of 60, the body produces 50% less saliva, which not only moisturizes the mouth, but also washes away bacteria. With a lack of saliva, bacteria actively multiply, leading to bad breath. As an example, there is the story of 68-year-old Judith Wells, who noticed that her grandchildren involuntarily stepped back during conversations. The reason for this was dry mouth, which she didn't even suspect. Thus, even with daily showering, the use of perfumes and mouthwash, the odor may persist. The root of the problem lies in 3 main changes: decreased sweating, changes in the composition of sebum, and dry mouth due to decreased saliva production. However, knowing which parts of the body require special care can significantly improve the situation. If the reader is still attentive and finds the information provided valuable, the author asks to note this in the comments to ensure that the reader shares this cognitive journey. And if the reader has not yet joined the channel, it is recommended to click the subscribe button and activate notifications so as not to miss useful tips that can significantly affect life in adulthood. By stopping reading now, the reader will probably continue to experience ineffective methods, wasting resources and time without achieving the desired result. However, a method confirmed by more than half a century of professional experience will be presented next. This method is simple, accessible, and with a serious approach can bring noticeable results within the first week. Continuing to apply it for a month, the reader can expect that others will be the first to notice positive changes. Many patients ask Dr. Henry about the possibility of eliminating the so-called old person's smell. The doctor's answer is unequivocal. Yes, it is possible, but only with the right approach, different from using advertised products that promise instant results. Mr. Raymond Parker, a 75-year-old man, entered the doctor's office with an expression of deep sadness on his face. He shared his pain. "I love my grandchildren, but they no longer want to spend time in my room. The windows are constantly wide open. I am confused. I don't understand what went wrong." 6 months later, the same man returned, his face beaming with happiness. "My grandchildren love to sit on my lap again, like in the days when they were very young. It's a real miracle, doctor," he exclaimed, and such a transformation is available to everyone. There is no need for expensive drugs or exotic remedies. It is enough to start acting right now without leaving home. There are 3 simple but at the same time effective principles that have helped 97% of the doctor's patients. The first principle is to drink enough warm water. Just water is a question doctors often hear. Yes, water is a powerful natural cleanser for the body. It helps flush out toxins through the urinary system, and warm water, especially when drunk in the morning, is particularly effective. Just 1 glass can significantly reduce unpleasant odors caused by internal buildup. Mrs. Gloria Adams, 72, shared her experience. "At first, drinking warm water in the morning seemed strange, but after a month, I got used to it. Now, if I miss this morning ritual, I feel like something is missing. My skin has become smoother, and my granddaughter even noticed, 'Grandma, you smell like toast.'" It is recommended to aim for at least 6 glasses of water a day. If it's hard to remember, you can stick to the following schedule: 1 glass immediately after waking up, 1 before. Lunch, 1 after a meal, 1 around 3 in the afternoon, 1 before dinner, and 1 before bed. It is important to remember that tea and coffee do not count, as they have a dehydrating effect. If you consume coffee, it is recommended to drink an extra glass of water to maintain balance. The second cornerstone on the path to freshness and vigor is leisurely walks in the sunlight. The author understands that age can impose limitations on physical activity and is not advocating for strenuous workouts. Just 20 minutes of leisurely walking in gentle sunlight is enough to feel significant changes. The morning or pre-sunset hours, when the sun is not so aggressive, are ideal for this practice. This helps kill bacteria on the skin surface and stimulates sweating, promoting the elimination of toxins from the body. As an example, consider the story of 78-year-old Mr. Leonard Fisher, who complained of leg pain and the inability to move normally. He was advised to start the day with a 10-minute walk around the house. After 3 weeks, he proudly reported that the unpleasant skin odor had almost disappeared, and his sleep had become more sound and restful. The third important element is regular warm water baths. In the winter months, many older people neglect showering due to fear of the cold, but this is highly undesirable. Baths help remove bacteria and dirt from the skin, especially in areas that often go unattended. It is important to remember that the water should not be too hot, as this deprives the skin of its natural protective oils and can worsen the problem of body odor. The optimal water temperature is between 37–40 degrees Celsius. Once a week, it is recommended to indulge in a 20-minute soak in a warm bath to open the pores and thoroughly cleanse the skin of deeply ingrained dirt. Many patients report that after just 1 such session, the skin becomes softer and body odor becomes less pronounced. These 3 simple at first glance habits, if performed regularly, can gradually eliminate the unpleasant odor associated with age as if it never existed. But these are not all the secrets, and the main one will be revealed later. Older people often ask doctors why they still have an unpleasant odor despite showering daily. In response, a clarification usually follows. Which specific areas of the body are thoroughly washed during water procedures? Numerous conversations show that most people wash superficially, striving only for a feeling of freshness rather than actually eliminating the source of the odor. As an example, consider the story of 70-year-old Lawrence Dean, who, despite showering daily, noticed that his grandchildren avoided him. Only after the doctor explained the problem areas did he realize the cause of the discomfort. That is why it is important to remember that about 90% of odors associated with aging come from 3 key areas of the body. Ignoring these areas renders any water procedures useless. The first area is skin folds, such as the neck, armpits, the area under the breasts, around the navel, groin, behind the knees, and inside the elbows. All these areas share the ability to trap sweat, sebum, and dead skin cells, creating a favorable environment for bacterial growth. Often, older people overlook these areas, especially the back of the neck and the area behind the ears, places where odor easily arises but rarely receive due attention. To cleanse these areas, it is recommended to use a soft washcloth or gentle bath sponge, gently massaging the skin. It is important to avoid strong friction, as aging skin is particularly sensitive and prone to damage. The second area of increased attention is areas of the body covered with hair, whether it is the scalp, armpits, or chest. These areas, due to their structure, tend to retain sweat and sebum, creating a favorable environment for the development of bacteria. Particular attention should be paid to the scalp, which is often cleaned too hastily. Many people only apply shampoo, overlooking the need for a thorough massage. An example is the case of 65-year-old Rita Wallace, who was advised to increase her head washing time and massage her scalp for at least 2 minutes each time she washed. After just 2 weeks, she was surprised to notice the disappearance of the unpleasant odor, and her grandson even compared her scent to fresh pastries. Men with chest or stomach hair should thoroughly wash these areas with soap and ensure they are completely dry after washing. The third problem area is the areas most prone to sweating, such as the feet, hands, and especially the spaces between the toes. Do not underestimate the fact that the source of unpleasant body odor may not be in the armpits at all, but in the feet, enclosed in socks and shoes throughout the day. After taking a bath, special attention should be paid to thoroughly washing and drying the interdigital spaces before putting on socks. It is recommended to prefer cotton socks and change them daily. If possible, alternate shoes, allowing each pair to dry and breathe. To clean the back, which can be difficult to reach, you can use a long-handled brush or wrap a towel around your hand to thoroughly rub the skin. Sweat that accumulates on the back can soak into clothing and leave persistent unpleasant odors. When cleaning intimate areas, you should strictly adhere to using warm, not hot, water. High water temperatures strip the skin of its natural protective oils and can exacerbate the problem of unpleasant odor by causing dryness. It is recommended to use a mild, fragrance-free soap. After washing, it is advisable to apply a light moisturizer, especially in winter when the skin is most prone to dryness and flaking. An example is the story of 71-year-old Elaine Matthews, who confessed to being skeptical about the effectiveness of wiping intimate areas, but after applying this method, she was pleasantly surprised by the result, noting a decrease in odor and an improvement in her relationship with her granddaughter. Starting today, you can notice significant changes in just 1 week, not only in the condition of your skin and body odor, but also in the views of others, their facial expressions, and the degree of closeness with loved ones. However, hygiene procedures are only part of the solution. Diet and everyday habits play an equally important role. It is a serious misconception to assume that one shower is enough to get rid of body odor. 69-year-old Wendell Craig from Northern California, following the recommendations for proper showering, noticed an improvement, but not a complete disappearance of the odor. Many patients often ask similar questions. In addition to hygiene, there are other factors that affect body odor, and they are hidden in the foods that a person eats every day. Foods that enter the body are processed by the liver, kidneys, and sweat glands, affecting the condition of the skin and body odor. Proper nutrition helps cleanse the body from the inside, while eating unhealthy foods can negate the effect of even the most expensive perfumes. Let's take a close look at which foods should be excluded from the diet, and which, on the contrary, should be consumed more often to feel lightness, cleanliness, and health every day. Simple ways to incorporate these habits into everyday life without drastic changes will be suggested. The author expresses sincere gratitude to the viewers for taking care of their health. If the ideas expressed earlier seemed helpful, it is suggested to leave a mark in the comments so that the author knows that the viewers continue to follow these tips. It is also suggested to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss new releases with practical advice accumulated over decades of working with thousands of older people. At one of the seminars for older people, Mr. Daniel Foster, 66, asked, "I have been consuming garlic regularly since I was young. Does this mean that garlic is the cause of my odor, doctor?" This is a fairly common question, and the answer is, in the short term, yes, but in the long term, absolutely not. Indeed, foods such as garlic, onions, and hot spices can cause a temporary odor immediately after consumption. However, over time, they help cleanse the body due to their high antioxidant content. This is important to remember. With ours age, oxidation processes occur in the body, and this is one of the main causes of the specific odor often associated with aging. Therefore, if you want to eliminate this odor at its root, you should start by consuming more foods rich in antioxidants. Despite their complex name, antioxidants are present in familiar foods. Examples include tomatoes, apples, strawberries, brown rice, and buckwheat. Generally, foods with red or purple hues are high in antioxidants. These substances help slow down the aging process and gradually reduce unpleasant body odor. Once, the author advised a 74-year-old Mrs. Janice Morgan to consume just one apple and a few slices of tomato daily. 2 months later, she returned, glowing with happiness, and said, "My granddaughter hugged me tighter and longer than usual without pulling away, and even said I smelled like a fruit orchard." Additionally, it is recommended to increase the consumption of fruits and vegetables with high water content, such as watermelons, pears, cucumbers, and tomatoes. They help cleanse the body from the inside out, removing toxins through the urinary system. If consuming enough fresh fruits and vegetables is difficult, you can try making smoothies every morning. This drink is easily absorbed and can noticeably reduce unpleasant body odor in just a few weeks. In addition to diet, oral hygiene plays an important role. Thoroughly brushing your teeth 3 times a day is a good start, but often not enough. The real source of bad breath is often the tongue, which is home to millions of odor-causing bacteria. A toothbrush alone is not enough to remove them. In this case, a special tongue scraper is needed, an inexpensive and readily available tool that can be purchased at any pharmacy. Using it daily will help freshen your breath noticeably. Mrs. Catherine Lee, 70, shared her experience. At first it seemed a little strange, but after a few days I felt clean in my mouth and stopped avoiding communication with my grandchildren. After a meal, chewing sugar-free gum, especially one enriched with xylitol, becomes a useful habit. This process actively stimulates salivation, which significantly reduces unpleasant odors associated with dry mouth, especially in the elderly. Don't forget the influence of coffee, tea, and alcohol, which are often overlooked. These drinks have a dehydrating effect, causing the body to retain odors. Alcohol, in turn, promotes the production of acetaldehyde, a chemical that gives sweat a specific, recognizable aroma. Coffee lovers are advised to limit themselves to 1 or 2 cups a day and not forget to drink extra water to maintain water balance. When consuming alcohol, consider reducing the amount. Grandma, why do you always smell kind of strange? Mom says it's your special smell. This innocent question was enough to make 71-year-old Carol Simmons feel a sting right in her heart. All her life, she had prided herself on impeccable cleanliness and attention to detail. A daily shower was an unwavering ritual for her. Her clothes always smelled fresh, and her house was spotless. And now her granddaughter, whom she adored more than anything in the world, was avoiding her hugs. Every time Carol tried to cuddle the girl, she wrinkled her nose and turned away. That night, wrapped in a blanket, Carol cried bitterly, as she hadn't cried in many years. Dr. Henry Thompson, a gerontologist with half a century of experience and work with over 10,000 elderly people, shares an important observation that often remains behind the scenes due to the delicacy of those around. Have you ever noticed an empty seat next to you on public transport, the detachment of grandchildren, or the habit of your daughter-in-law airing the room after your visit? Such situations may be related to a phenomenon known as old person smell, the existence of which is confirmed by research. Dr. Thompson notes that the vast majority of people over 60, namely 99%, are unaware of changes in their body odor, while those around them feel it clearly. However, out of reluctance to offend, loved ones prefer to remain silent about it. Thus, many elderly people face this problem without realizing it. As an example, he cites the story of 73-year-old Franklin Moore, an extremely clean person whose house always shone with cleanliness. One day, when his son brought a friend to visit, Franklin accidentally overheard a whisper. "It smells like an old man here." This incident made Franklin avoid communication with his grandchildren, fearing rejection, the reason for which no one explained to him. If you, the reader, feel awkward and suspect that something similar is happening to you, do not despair. The problem is not uncleanliness or improper self-care. It's about natural age-related changes that affect body odor. However, this is not a life sentence, and it can be addressed. By watching this video to the end, viewers will discover a surprisingly simple method requiring only 3 minutes a day, capable of reducing the elderly smell by as much as 90%. This revolutionary approach has already helped over 1,000 patients regain their self-confidence, unafraid to hug their grandchildren without a hint of embarrassment. But first and foremost, it is necessary to understand where this specific smell comes from and how to get rid of it in the simplest way. Not long ago, during an online consultation, the video's author spoke with 79-year-old Eleanor Brooks, living alone in Arizona. She bitterly confessed, "I don't understand, doctor. I use perfume every day, the very same one that my grandchildren say smells so nice. But lately, when I invite them into my room, they stop at the door and make excuses to leave." The doctor inquired whether the room was well ventilated. Eleanor replied, "I usually have to keep the windows open because even I feel the air is somewhat heavy." It then became obvious that she was making a common mistake, trying to mask one smell with another. The doctor gently but honestly told her, "Mrs. Eleanor, perfume is not the answer. In fact, it can only exacerbate the problem." After a short pause that broke the silence of the office, a quiet question, full of bewilderment, was heard. "Doctor, if that's the case, where does this smell come from? I meticulously maintain my hygiene, take a bath regularly, my clothes are always clean, and there is no clutter in the house." And in this, paradoxically, lies the root of the problem. Many people who have reached a venerable age are distinguished by their cleanliness and neatness. However, despite all efforts, over time the body begins to emit a specific odor, which is not commonly known and which no one teaches how to properly manage. The first reaction of most in such a situation is to use perfumes, deodorants, or air fresheners. That is, means that only mask one smell with another. This is like spraying perfume in an untidy room. As a result, Those around feel discomfort but prefer to remain silent, open windows, or try to keep their distance. Elderly people, in turn, remain unaware, feeling offended and embarrassed, not understanding the reason for such behavior. To break this sad cycle of misunderstanding and alienation, it is necessary to understand the nature of the so-called old person smell and understand why it appears even when all the rules of hygiene are followed and order is maintained in the house, contrary to the opinion of others. After talking with Mrs. Eleanor, it became obvious that a more detailed explanation of this issue was required. The fact is that not everyone is aware of the reasons for the appearance of a specific body odor, despite careful self-care. It is widely believed that the smell of an old person arises from insufficient attention to hygiene procedures or is an inevitable companion of aging. However, behind this phenomenon lie quite specific biological processes confirmed by scientific research. Understanding these processes will allow you to take concrete steps to improve the shell's situation and eliminate unpleasant odors. Let's turn to such an aspect as sweating. At first glance, this may seem unexpected, but in young years, a person releases significantly more sweat, on average about 1 liter per day. After reaching the age of 60, this figure decreases by more than half. The question may arise, if sweating decreases, shouldn't this lead to a decrease in unpleasant odor? However, sweating is one of the mechanisms by which the body gets rid of toxins. Sweat brings bacteria, excess sebum, and waste products to the surface of the skin. Consequently, with a decrease in sweating, these substances remain on the skin longer, creating a favorable environment for the reproduction of bacteria that cause unpleasant odors. Medical practice shows that older patients often face this problem. Thus, one of the patients, 74-year-old Donald Ray, once remarked at an appointment, "In my youth, I sweated like a horse. It was inconvenient, but the real problem started when I almost stopped sweating." He was explained that due to a decrease in sweating, the smell lingers on the skin longer, soaking into clothes, bedding, and pillows. The second factor affecting body odor with age is sebum, natural skin oil. In youth, its chemical composition differs from the composition of sebum in adulthood. Around the age of 50, a compound called 2-nonenal, an oxidized fatty acid, appears in the sebum. This substance is absent in young people, but after the age of 60, its concentration begins to increase and reaches a peak around the age of 70. It is this compound that is one of the main culprits of the smell that is often associated with aging. It's important to understand that this isn't related to poor hygiene. It's due to natural changes that occur in the skin over time. We shouldn't forget about the oral cavity, another potential source of unpleasant odor that's often overlooked. With age, around 60, the body's saliva production decreases by almost half. Saliva not only moisturizes, but also plays an important role in cleansing the mouth of bacteria. With insufficient salivation, bacteria begin to multiply actively, leading to bad breath. As an illustration, consider the words of 68-year-old Judith Wells. "I noticed that my grandchildren instinctively moved away when I started talking. Now I realize that the reason lies in the dry mouth, which I didn't even suspect." Thus, even with good hygiene, regular showering, using perfumes and mouthwash, the problem of unpleasant odor may persist. The root of the problem lies in age-related changes, such as decreased perspiration, changes in sebum composition, and reduced saliva production, leading to dry mouth. However, there are ways to solve these problems, requiring an understanding of the needs of different parts of the body and providing them with proper care. If this information was helpful, the author asks readers to leave a note in the comments to demonstrate their interest in further exploring this topic. Ceasing the search for an effective solution risks further wandering in the darkness of ineffective methods, wasting resources and time, and never getting closer to the desired result. However, there's a method, proven by more than half a century of professional experience, that can change the situation. This method is simple, accessible, and with a serious approach can bring tangible results within the first week. And with consistent application for a month, positive changes will become obvious to others. Many patients wonder, is it really possible to get rid of the specific odor associated with age? The answer is yes, but success depends on the right approach, not on the use of advertised products. The story of Mr. Raymond Parker, a 75-year-old patient who came to the clinic with a dim look, comes to mind. He admitted that he loved his grandchildren, but they avoided his room, where the windows were always open. He was puzzled, not understanding what went wrong. 6 months later, this man returned transformed, with a radiant face. He shared his joy. Now my grandchildren love to sit on my lap again, as in childhood. It's real magic. Such experience is available to everyone. This requires neither exclusive products nor expensive drugs. It's enough to start acting right now, without leaving your own home. There are 3 fundamental, simple, but incredibly effective principles that have helped 97% of patients succeed. The first rule on the path to body freshness is drinking enough warm water. Just water? Many wonder. Yes, ordinary water is a powerful natural detoxifier. It helps to remove harmful substances through the urinary system, especially if you drink warm water in the morning. Just 1 glass can significantly reduce the unpleasant odor caused by internal accumulations. Mrs. Gloria Adams, a venerable 72-year-old lady, shared her experience. At first, the morning intake of warm water seemed unusual, but after a month, I got used to it. Now, if I miss this procedure, I feel like I'm missing something. My skin. Furthermore, it's worth paying attention to milder types of tea, such as barley tea. And finally, we must not underestimate the role of fiber in the diet. Constipation is a common problem among the elderly. When waste remains in the intestines, toxins can re-enter the bloodstream and exit through the skin, causing a persistent unpleasant body odor. It's recommended to enrich the diet with brown rice, oats, leafy vegetables, and root vegetables. Starting the day with a bowl of porridge or light vegetable soup is a great idea. 75-year-old Donna Ray, who suffered from constipation for 3 decades, felt significant relief just 2 months after introducing brown rice into her morning diet. Constipation subsided, her skin acquired a healthy look, and according to her, even her body odor became more pleasant. It should be emphasized that there's no need to make drastic changes to your life instantly. Start small, choosing 1 or 2 simple actions to begin with. If you're consistent for a month, the result won't be long in coming. It's not just about changing your body odor, but also about how others react to you, how comfortable they feel in your company, and how much more confident you feel. It's also important to pay attention to a factor that often goes unnoticed. Clothing, personal items, and the surrounding environment play a significant role in creating what is known as age-related body odor. A daily shower may not be enough if you continue to wear clothes that are saturated with odors or sleep on bedding that has absorbed sweat for an entire week. For example, consider the story of 76-year-old Evelyn Moore from Oregon. She meticulously maintained her hygiene and diet, but noticed that her family began to keep their distance. It turned out that she had a habit of wearing sweaters and pajamas several times before washing them to avoid frequent laundry. However, these items, after multiple uses, absorbed sweat and sebum, creating an unpleasant odor that Evelyn herself didn't notice. Start your journey to change with a simple but important step. Change your underwear daily, even if you plan to spend the day at home. Opt for cotton fabrics, as their breathable properties and ability to absorb moisture create optimal comfort. Synthetic materials, on the other hand, can cause discomfort by retaining sweat and contributing to unpleasant odors. Clothing needs to be washed after each day of wear, especially in hot weather when perspiration increases. Don't forget about bedding, as this is where we spend a significant part of our lives. On average, sleep takes up 7 to 8 hours a day, and during this time, our body continues to function, releasing sweat and shedding dead skin cells. If bedding, including sheets, pillowcases, and blankets, is not washed at least once a week, it becomes a breeding ground for odor-causing bacteria. If possible, dry your bedding in the sun, as sunlight has natural disinfecting properties. Pillowcases deserve special attention and should be changed twice a week, as hair and scalp constantly release oils. If your pillows or blankets are more than 2 years old, it may be time to consider replacing them. Don't skimp on your health and confidence, as they are priceless. Don't forget about shoes and socks, as the human feet are literally covered in sweat glands. If you wear the same pair day after day, the odor will inevitably permeate the insoles and make itself known as soon as you step into a room. A sensible solution would be to alternate between 2 or 3 pairs of shoes and sprinkle them with baking soda at night to absorb excess moisture. Cotton socks should be preferred, change daily, and avoid wearing damp ones. The air in the home also plays an important role. A closed space becomes a trap for all kinds of odors emanating from the body, furniture, and even cooked food. It is recommended to ventilate the room by opening windows for at least 10 minutes in the morning and evening, regardless of the weather conditions. Fresh air not only refreshes the space, but also has a beneficial effect on mood. In bathrooms or kitchens with poor ventilation, you can place a small container of vinegar or a box of baking soda, which naturally absorb. Odors. In conclusion, the so-called old person smell is not just the result of age-related changes in the body. It's more of a combination of accumulated sweat, stale clothes, old bedding, dirty shoes, and stuffy air. However, the good news is that the situation can be changed, and it doesn't require expensive means. It is enough to drink enough water, take light walks in the sun, thoroughly clean 3 key areas prone to odor, include antioxidant-rich foods in the diet, maintain oral hygiene, regularly change clothes, wash bedding weekly, and ensure the circulation of fresh air in the house. This simple formula will help get rid of unwanted odors, which will not only make you feel more comfortable, but also bring you closer to your loved ones. It's an opportunity to hug grandchildren without causing them discomfort and to go out with confidence, giving others a smile.